Have you ever wondered about where your ancestors came from and what really makes you, you? You may say, JB, who cares? I know who I am. But do you really? Do you really know your origins, or are you just going on what you've been told? There have been so many people who have done what I am about to show you and discovered that they weren't who they thought they were. Not to be controversial, but others have also discovered their father wasn't really their father, and so on, if you get my drift. At the same time, knowing your ancestry gives you a sense of identity, and if nothing else, it is a good talking point for when you meet your friends. As an example, imagine people not perceiving you looking Asian at all, and yet discover that some of your ancestry is from China. If you saw me, what would you say is my race or ethnicity? Before there was a large influx of Venezuelans in Trinidad, people would sometimes ask me where I was from. Now that the Venezuelans are here in large numbers, Trinis will assume that I am Venezuelan until I started talking. For me, I see myself as simply mixed, and just how mixed you are going to learn from this video. In fact, you surprisingly will learn all the countries involved in making me what I am today. Not only that, but I will be able to give you the percentage of just how mixed I am, so you can see the more dominant and recessive blood in my veins. This will be based on science and not just what dad or granny said. So how did I get this information? It is called a DNA test, which is the science into one's genealogy. You know that test that couples take when they think someone's been cheating and they want to figure out who's the real father? Yeah, something like that. How did I go about getting into doing that? I will show you. First, let's reverse a little. From a young age, my father, yeah, that's him, told me many stories about what he knew of his own father and grandfather. A lot of this intrigued me because it had direct links into making up what Trinidad and Tobago is today. So around the age of 16, I started to keep something called a book of remembrance. This book is like a folder of pages that can add the pedigree charts and ancestral information. It allows you to track your genealogy and the offspring of descendants. Today there are a lot of programs that do this, so there is no need for an actual book. But that was the driving force behind me doing this. Now there are DNA test kits that you can order and take the test. In my case, I ordered the Ancestry DNA test kit. It comes like what you see here. Inside it is a package with a container that you fill with your saliva, you seal it, and then you send it back. Back in 2019, I got a test kit, and both my wife and myself tried it. Doing the test is easy. After sending it, I waited for around 3 weeks and then checked online for the results. Now here's the interesting part. Ancestry is able to target the origin of your DNA through a huge database of DNA records from around the world. Their database is not stagnant and is updated every now and again. This means that there might be slight alterations in your results as time goes by, but not so much as to leave you puzzled as to your major origin. Anyway, back to my origin. Usually when you ask your parents about your origin, they may say something like, your grandfather came from X, and his father, which is your great-grandfather, came from here, and yet they have nothing on paper to show that. That was partially my case too. I was left to wonder about the real origin of my ancestors. Well, here it is all broken down for you. Get ready. Drum roll, please. Okay, so this is the Ancestry DNA story for myself. Here it will give you an ethnicity estimate. In other words, it will tell you which countries your DNA originates from. Now this is just an estimate, but it's a close estimate. You can figure out from the map when you see it just how many countries make up myself. So let's start going through the list. We have Spain at 18%, Scotland 10%, Ireland 10%, Benin and Togo 9%, Cameroon, Congo and Western Bantu peoples 7%, Nigeria 7%, Portugal 6%, Ivory Coast and Ghana 6%. Then we go back up to Europe, England and Northwestern Europe 5%, Germanic Europe 4%, Wales 3%, Norway 3%, Indigenous Americas 2%, Mali 2%, and then Indigenous Eastern South America. And scrolling up we can see, and these include all the 1%, France, Senegal, Northern Africa, the Indigenous Americas, which is Colombia and Venezuela in this case, Sweden 1%, Eastern Europe and Russia, 1%. And for good measure, we have European Jewish, 1%. Now, in my DNA results also, there were additional communities like Venezuela, the Indian diaspora in the Caribbean, and the Lesser Antilles, African Caribbeans. This just means that the general area in which I'm from, Trinidad, of course, includes people with DNA from the surrounding territories, Venezuela, the Lesser Antilles, maybe even Guyana. Now, another way to know that they got my information correct is they can show you others who have also had their DNA tested, and you can connect to them if you wish. Sure enough, it picked up my half-brother, first cousins, and so forth, and showed me how I was connected to them. The system also tells me the kind of traits I have based on genetic dispositions. For instance, I have the sprinter's gene, but I won't go into that. Now, my father always emphasized the French heritage, but you can see from this ethnicity estimate, France is only 1%. I'm actually made up of mostly Spanish from Spain, the British Isles, and the rest from Africa and indigenous America. So that's my makeup. When you break it down, it's about a third from Africa and 2/3 from Europe. So now you can see how I'm made up. Check the results. What do you think? Do you want to get your own DNA test done someday, or would you rather keep it a secret?